Yeah, I'm gonna need excuse me, I'm gonna need lots of water for this one. Hold on. Let me wet my palate. Let me preface this by saying I have a lot of respect for Teddy Atlas. I've talked about him before. I've done videos about him. In fact, I was about to do a video about how I respected Teddy Atlas, and I still do. Great, great boxing man. Great, great boxing mind, I should say. He was a fighter at one point, and he's just a real entertaining guy. He's funny. But man, this dude went in so hard on Anthony Joshua, said he was overrated, was talking about when Joshua said his back was hurting from carrying the division. Teddy Atlas actually said, who's he fought? Who's he fought? He said Tyson Fury should be the man with the back hurting because he fought Deontay Wilder. Huh? And then he talked about Joshua fought a 40-year-old Klitschko. That 40-year-old Klitschko would have stopped Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder's people didn't want no parts of fighting Klitschko. They didn't want none of that. They knew what happened in sparring. That's what I think why it was part of the reason. But what is Teddy Atlas talking about? What is he talking about? He was saying he was too cautious, and he was even talking about the British fans that were saying how brave Joshua was to fight Hellenius on such a short notice. And he was like, brave? How are you brave when you're getting paid millions? You think Anthony Joshua needs the money? Like, dude, he's probably the richest man in British history. What was Teddy Atlas talking about? And I was surprised he actually said if Joshua faces Wilder, that it's going to come down to whoever hits who first. And he said he didn't know how much Deontay Wilder has left in the tank after those fights with Tyson Fury. So it sounds like that, I don't know, he favors Wilder to win, but he doesn't sound so sure of it. And he said Joshua's learned how to set traps. So if he's learned how to set traps, then what's the criticism? And he was saying he was just too patient. Now, I know sometimes in a fight you can be so patient that you make the fight harder than it had to be. He said all he had to throw was 3 jabs and then come in with the right and it would have been over. But if you look early in the fight, Joshua did land a right hand. It just, Hellenius kept pulling back so he didn't get the full brunt of the punch. But Teddy, he's just, wow. To question Joshua's resume like that? Like, whose resume in the heavyweight division even comes close to Anthony Joshua? And like I said on my backup platform in WJ, your KOs are only as good as your resume. Let me repeat that. Your KOs are only as good as your resume. Why do you think people were questioning Jake Paul? Because he was knocking out a basketball player and MMA fighter, so we wanted to see him fight an actual boxer. Because your KOs are only as impressive as your resume. And for him to say before, like, Deontay Wilder was the hardest puncher in heavyweight history, Teddy, you of all people should know, you came up in the 70s and 80s. It's about who you're hitting. If you're fighting C-class opponents and knocking them silly, it's because they're C-class opponents. Shouldn't have to explain this to you, Teddy. But man, he was going in on Joshua. I was like, the way he was talking, you would have thought that Anthony Joshua lost, in devastating fashion. The man was stopped one time in his professional career against Andy Ruiz. He hasn't been stopped since. Hasn't hit the canvas since. Boy, man. But like I said on a previous video, Lennox Lewis was getting talked about the same way back in the 90s, especially when he lost in 1994 to Oliver McCall. They were like, see, I told you he was a fraud and this and that. I was like, okay, what happened? Now he's talked about as one of the greats of all time. And like I said in my last video, I say he is the greatest heavyweight of all time, Lennox Lewis. But all this disrespect of Anthony Joshua, it's called boxing for a reason. You're supposed to hit and not get hit. So that's what AJ's trying to do. He's trying to work on, he's trying to improve. If you get stopped the way he got stopped, where he kept hitting the canvas against Andy Ruiz, you're going to come back and try something different, because that's embarrassing. You don't want that to ever happen again. Now, see, if he came back reckless and the same thing happened, we'd say, well, you know, he's not learning anything. He's not improving. And Teddy Atlas just had a lot of jokes, man. Teddy was just, he was going in on Joshua. They were just, and the dude that hosted with him, Ken something or Kenny, he too was talking about who's Joshua fought, and they were basically reducing Anthony Joshua to a club fighter. And I'm like, how in the world do you guys not see the fighters that he's fought? Now, you might say they're not that great of fighters compared to yesteryear, but, I mean, he's fighting who's available. And who's available, those are the best guys available. But Deontay Wilder's resume, Bermane Stiverne, went 12 with him, then wiped him out in the rematch. He had a tough fight with Eric Molina. AJ didn't. He got beat up 3 times by Tyson Fury. He got stopped when he first started his professional career against not stopped. He got knocked down when he first started his professional career against a journeyman. He was stopped in the amateurs. I did a video on that a long time ago. He got stopped, I believe, by a Russian 6-foot guy. In the amateurs, he got stopped. So, H2O break, y'all. Y'all drinking water, lay off the sodas. Empty calories, not good for you. But if you guys haven't seen the Teddy Atlas's podcast, go check it out, man. Teddy had jokes, man. They were just, you would have thought AJ got totally beat up in this last fight. Now, his face was a little messed up after the fight, and I'm noticing AJ seems to bleed from the nose now every fight. But other than getting hit with Helenius' jab, I don't know what they want, you know. And then if he would have finished, if AJ would have finished Helenius too fast, they'd have said, well, look, it was Helenius, you know. You know, when people are overly critical, you almost can't win, because there was a guy named Wallace Matthews back in the day. I've talked about him before too. He was the biggest Lennox Lewis critic. No matter what Lennox did, he had a critique that was just totally unfair. When Lewis went in there and knocked out Michael Grant in 2 or 3 rounds, he was like, well, I would like to see the jab. Where was the jab? What? He went in there and finished the job, like Lennox Lewis used to say, I don't get paid for overtime. So why would Lennox go in there and work on his jab? He already had a great jab. And then if he would have jabbed him for 12 rounds, he'd have been like, he was too cautious. Why didn't he go for the knockout? Oh, man. I don't know. And then Teddy Atlas was talking about the UK supporters that were saying, we know Joshua's overrated, but we don't want you Yankees to tell us that. How can you say a man's overrated when first of all, he started late, you know? Most people start boxing, around 8 or 10 years old. He started late, fought Klitschko with limited fights, didn't have that long of an amateur career, won an Olympic gold medal, and beat one of the top guys in the sport. Came up off the canvas to do it when he could have easily quit. That's the heart of a champion. Teddy Atlas gave Anthony Joshua credit for having heart, but he's got skills and heart. It's like he said he's overrated, and who has he fought? Wow. Well, he's fought Joseph Parker, Povetkin, Takam. Of course, Teddy Atlas pointed out Charles Martin, though. So, out of all the fights, he pointed that out. He's fought Usyk twice, lost those, but I mean, that's Usyk. Just fought Helenius, who's, that's Helenius is not, he won't be thought of as an all-time great, I'm sure. Who else? Klitschko. Dillian White was going to fight him again. Let's see, I know I'm forgetting somebody. I think I'm forgetting somebody, but just go check out BoxRec or go pull up some fights on YouTube, and you'll see Anthony Joshua is not overrated. In fact, he's probably underrated. And I'm not saying, y'all, that Deontay Wilder can't punch. Of course he can punch. I'm not blind. The man can punch. But it's still a matter of who is he punching. And trainer Stacy, how am I going to forget his name? Stacy McKinley, he was talking about the same thing before. Who is he punching? Who is he punching? I'm going to say it again and again and again until y'all get it. Your KOs are only as good as your resume. If your resume's whack, your KOs are whack. Or they shouldn't be lifted up to the point where, man, this dude is the greatest puncher of all time. Not until you knock out some G's. When you knock out some G's consecutively, then we can start putting you in that conversation. Until then, no. Teddy Atlas, come on, man. What are you talking about, dude? What is... And boxing, that's the thing, boxing, but I don't know, maybe he was just in one of the moods where he just wanted an early night. Maybe he just had his popcorn ready, wanted to see Joshua go in there, handle business, and go about his business. I don't know. I'm probably forgetting some points. I'll talk about that on my NWJ. I was going to talk about an interview I saw with Daniel Dubois. J. Roos Theory, LSR forever. Thanks for watching. To be fearless. Yay.